Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Studio 78 podcast. I am your host, Naché from NacheSnow.com. Welcome. And who is my co-host again this season? Naché Umba from NacheUmba.com. Welcome, Naché.
Thank you, Nache. Happy to be here, as always.
I'm very excited because we're winding down. After our episode goes live, I have one more episode afterwards, and that's it. That is it for season 11. And I'm excited because I've got like all this stuff that I want to work on. I want to work on a wreath. I want to work on hand sewing some curtains for one of my windows. I got bead art I want to work on. I also need to decide for you guys, the audience out there, if I'm going to work on a Notion class or a planner. I did send a survey out to the newsletter, but I had the wrong permissions set up, so I could tell how many people clicked something, but they couldn't fill out the survey. I'm going to send it out again, and maybe that'll break the tie because it was like 50-50. Some people wanted the Notion class, and some people wanted me to do a planner.
I know
I'll
what I
include...
voted for.
Which one did you vote for?
I voted for a planner.
Mm,
So
mm.
I think the people listening should side with me.
So
That's my
what I'll
thing.
do is for at least the month of October, or no, that's too long. For the first 2 weeks of October, I will leave the vote links in the show notes for this page, nachesnow.com/181. And so click on the one that you want. And then there will also be a form for you to fill out. So then I can understand what you're looking for depending on what you choose. But how
So
about
Nache,
you?
before we get to me, I have two questions for you.
Yeah.
How does it feel to have completed 11 whole seasons of a podcast?
Yeah. It feels good. It feels good. I feel like I love what I do. I love chatting with you. I love chatting with all of the guests. I do wish that I had someone that would help me edit the podcast that because I love longer, like the longer format,
Hmm.
and since I'm starting to post more video versions of the
Hmm.
podcast too, it's just a little bit more work to make sure, because I like my stuff to be edited. Take out spaces, take out as many ums as I can, just cleaning stuff up. And that takes time. So you could have an hour episode that could take a few hours, 2 to 3 hours to edit, depending, right? And that part is woo.
Hmm.
But just the act of interviewing people and sharing people's stories, man, I could do this all day. I love it. The fact that it's been like, I don't know, 5 years, I think. I have to see what date I first started, but yeah, I don't know. I just feel honored that I've been able to interview and chat with so many accomplished women.
Oh, that's an outstanding answer. I love
Feels
it. That's a
good.
good soundbite right there. My second question is, you started to giggle when you mentioned hand sewing your curtains. So I wonder if you want to update your listeners because you mentioned how you had purchased your house and you were doing a lot of decorating. So how are you feeling about how your house is coming together?
Let me tell the public something, the people. So, for those of you guys who don't know, and trust me, we're going to get into spiritual well being soon because that is what helps keep me sane. is I I think it's going good. But the thing is, I bought a 100-year-old house that needs work. So for the most part, if you walk into the house, you'll be like, Naché, this is fine. Everything looks great.
It does.
But of course, I have a laundry list. I literally just updated my home Notion page on Sunday to capture everything I want to do because with the old house, there's a lot of stuff. I need to get the exterior redone and sealed. I need to get my garage sealed. I had water leaking, even though I think I was able to finish that. There's just a whole bunch of little stuff. I have an iron porch. Yeah, I think it's iron, like metal porch. And what I noticed is like it's starting to deteriorate a little bit because it's like the original. And so I need to get someone in who does that type of work to do whatever, solder, clean
Mm.
it up, make it sturdy again. So it's like a never ending list of things that I need to do. But it's okay because I haven't even been in the house a year. It won't be a year until the end of October. But I don't know. I'm feeling good. But anyway, so for the curtains, for the most part, all my windows had shades or blinds. I want to get rid of the windows that have blinds, but that's a whole other story. But there are two windows that don't have shades, and I'm not quite ready to invest in shades yet. So I have this idea to create curtains on the window. It's like on the top floor and there's one on the bottom floor that are hand sewn like scarf like material to make the curtain. So light still comes in, but you have this beautiful flowy granny antique feel.
I was gonna say granny, but I didn't want you to be offended.
I would never be offended. Granny till I die. I love
Granny
that
chic, right?
aesthetic. So, yeah, so I'm feeling good. It's really just finding making time, not finding time because there's time as long as you carve it out. So it's really just me making time to do the stuff.
And during your off season, I guess you would call it, that's when you can do your little, not little, your creative projects and stuff. So that's great.
Yeah, because I have so for those who have been listening, like I'm in the city, and when you live in the city, oftentimes you have metal screen doors, and
Mm,
so I ended up getting these magnetic hooks
mm.
for the front and the back door that I think I mentioned on the podcast, but I haven't had time to pick up the materials for Michael so I can make my wreath. I was very tempted to just buy a pre-made wreath,
That is
but I was
not the snow way. Would you even be a crafter if you bought a pre-done wreath?
100%. I just add some stuff to it.
Okay.
And I'm like, I made this. Cheating. So yeah. So how about you?
What? So don't ask me about the house because it's nowhere near where I wanted to be. So let's just go and skip past that. Let's skip past it because you know what? I'm going to grant myself some grace. This has been a very trying year. Summer was the pits.
Mm,
So now I've been tossing things. I've been decluttering and
mm.
calling the Salvation Army to come pick up bags and bags of stuff and just getting rid of stuff. So that's feeling good. I figured out a way how to let go of some of the emotional clutter. So I've been taking pictures of things and trying to determine what was worth keeping. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I moved back to my mother's house after she passed away last year. It's been a combination of my stuff in the house because I had a whole house full of stuff. She had a whole house full of stuff, and we didn't have time to adequately prepare before I moved in. It was stuff on top of stuff on top of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm clearing it out so that in case I decide to downsize and switch cities at some point, I won't be carrying
See.
I won't be carrying junk everywhere with me. So that really motivated me to get rid of some stuff. I can be
Nice.
mobile.
Any special projects you're working on?
I haven't fully formulated this idea, but I took a break from my business a little bit. And when I come back, it's going to be completely different.
Mm.
I'm also working in the gallery at my school too, which is exciting. So I'm learning a lot about the behind the scenes of I knew some stuff before, but I'm actually getting to run this gallery this semester. So
Mm.
that's really exciting.
Nice. No, those are some good things. It's like you're in motion, right? You're doing
Very
stuff,
much.
yeah, and preparing for the future. I love it.
Thanks.
So, just a few housekeeping things, folks. One, sign up for my newsletter, nachesnow.com/newsletter. I talk about all kind of stuff, productivity stuff, favorite books, favorite stationery, random things I find, home stuff. It's funny. So I debated about doing a newsletter on Substack, a paid newsletter, because people just don't really understand the randomness that be going on in my brain. One day I could literally write a tutorial about beads and what I like. Other days I could write about plants and paleas and fiddles and you name it. But I'm like, man, if somebody would just pay me to write and just put images and videos, of everything that's in my brain, that would be glorious. Maybe one day you guys will see a paid Substack for me.
Yeah, I think the Substack is interesting because anytime there's a trend in one way, there's always some kind of backlash trend.
Mm.
So because we're so used to short form information and people have stopped writing and everything's about video, now here comes another opportunity for a different kind of program that supports long form text. So I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, I love it because I'm like, man, it would be awesome to do that. Like charge like $5, $10 a month or whatever. And I'll be like, I'm just gonna send you guys my thoughts and take what you need. Cause I have, oh, if you saw my Notion page of content, it's ridiculous. But anywho, for my free newsletter, nachesnow.com/newsletter. And also, if you enjoyed this podcast, head on over to Apple Podcasts and rate me 5 stars. Spotify, please rate me. Thumbs up on YouTube. And wherever you're listening, please subscribe. Subscribe. And if you think this episode would be useful for someone you love, sharing is caring, my friends. Okay. And I would say for Naché, if you're in Virginia and she's in the Virginia Beach area, hit Naché up.
Yeah,
So let's get into today's episode, spiritual wellness. And we're going to define spiritual wellness. But what I will tell you guys right now about, at least for me, I can't speak for Naché, that the spiritual wellness that we're going to talk about, at least from my perspective, doesn't have a religious framework or a religious tie. Because even though I grew up Catholic, I don't consider myself a very religious person. I consider myself a spiritual person. I do think there is a higher power. I think there is good and evil, and that we should be good people, and we'll go into values and things like that. But I wouldn't consider myself a very religious person. And so, because of that, I'm just not positioned to really talk about that aspect of spirituality or spiritual wellness that does make sense for some people.
I agree. I feel the same way. I didn't grow up Catholic, but the church that I did grow up with was very open and welcoming to all religions. So it was like the commonalities is believing in a higher power, but it wasn't like it was Christian but not divided up. So I feel the same way.
So there's a couple of, and I'll have several articles like from Better Up. There's also a article on Banner Health on 8 ways to take care of your spiritual health. So I'll have like a couple of resources that you could get more information from. But as far as like a base definition, what do you think about this? Okay, spiritual wellness involves finding your life's meaning and purpose and understanding the values, beliefs, and morals that guide your action.
When I hear that, it stresses me out
Mm. Is
because
it too much pressure?
it's too much pressure. It's find your sense of purpose in life. I think what that means is like searching for meaning in your existence. So not just being here to be here, but search for meaning. How can you contribute? But I don't think any of us, let me rephrase. Some people might have found what their meaning and sense of purpose in life is, but some people might be searching. But I think it's in the search that is the spiritual part of it. What do
I
you think?
agree. And even Northwestern, it's a little heavy too, right? Spiritual wellness is defined as expanding a sense of purpose and meaning in life, including one's morals and ethics. It may or may not involve religious activities. But I think the point is it's what they said here for in Northwest, expanding a sense of purpose and meaning in life. So it's you're trying to figure out what it is. Let's see, University of New Hampshire says spiritual wellness is connecting to your inner and outer worlds to support you in living your values and purpose.
That one I can see. But do you feel like you found your purpose in life? That's heavy, isn't it? No, go ahead and answer the question. I need to know.
I think so.
Wow. What is it?
So I think that, and it's weird because I feel like there's a lot of people who are like, I want to help people, right?
Hmm.
And so I like helping people too, but I guess maybe if I dig into that when I think about my purpose, I'm trying to think of a way to articulate what I think my purpose is.
Mhm.
I think my purpose is to help people discover and be their best selves. So I'm not like,
Ooh.
and I guess I think that's my purpose because I feel like I've talked to people from high schoolers to women in their 60s, and I
Mhm.
can like listen to someone's story and what they want to do. And then I feel like I'm good at helping sometimes people figure out how to get there. And when they leave me, at least what I've been told is they feel inspired, like they can accomplish it if they started off with a lack of self confidence or a lack of just believing in the art of the possible. After a conversation with me, they realize it is possible. And I feel like my purpose is to make sure other people believe and know that they can live like their best selves and do whatever, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I also think that you serve as a good example of that too. So you're not just stating it, but you're also living it, which also think is important too. So you're in the practice of doing the things that you find in your purpose, which I think must be really good for your spirit.
Yeah,
Meaning,
I'm
there's
yeah.
some people who are like, oh, yeah, I love to help, I love to do such and such, but they're not actively living it. I'm going to give you an example. I might say, I love travel. Ask me where I've been. I don't like
Right.
to travel. So I had to come to that realization. It's not that I don't, but I'm saying that would be not being truthful and not feeding your spirit the things that you're setting as your, what did you say? Expanding your sense of purpose.
Mhm.
I know some people whose sense of purpose is to explore and bring back information from all around the world. But if I said that was my mission, it would be a lie. So that would
What do
not
you
be feeding
think
my
is
spirit.
your mission, your purpose?
I was hoping you didn't ask me that. I think I'm really in the throes of discovering that. I think I'm one of the people who may have put my mission too much in other people's hands, I guess I will say. So even at my big age, I'm still trying to figure that part out for myself. So reading this definition is still, it still feels weighty to me. And I would like
Mhm.
for it to feel more natural, but that's something I'm actively working towards. I don't think I'm there yet. Yeah.
Yeah, it is like a tricky thing. You know, it's so funny because and my I have a good friend Don who's like me too, where most people when they get like on a plane, for example, the thought of someone, a stranger talking to them terrifies them. I welcome it sometimes because I've had the most fascinating conversations with strangers. And it's sometimes it's like those people they just want someone to listen to their story, right?
Hmm.
And sometimes they just want someone to give them like an objective view of whatever. And I don't mind doing that. I love listening. It's like cracking a case. And sometimes when people are like, yeah, I'm trying to figure out, should I do this? And I'm like, okay, let's go over what are some of the pros and some of the cons, right? Like, I don't have the answer, right? But I love help getting people there. So maybe that's not my purpose, and
So
I'm yet
it's for
to
you to
find it.
define.
But at least I think that's my purpose.
I think it's up to you to define. So if you feel that's what your purpose is, then doggone it, that's what your purpose is.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a loose definition, right?
Hmm.
I also asked ChatGPT what spiritual wellness is,
Your cousin.
and ChatGPT said spiritual wellness refers to a state of well being in which an individual seeks purpose and meaning in life, as well as a sense of inner peace, harmony, and balance. It's a dimension of wellness that goes beyond physical health and encompasses the exploration of one's values, beliefs, and inner self. Spiritual wellness is highly personal and subjective aspect of overall well-being and can manifest differently for each person. I thought that was a good summary.
Of course, it came from the chat bot. So of course it was a good summary.
It stole it from around the internet.
It's the best of the best.
Okay, so today, folks, We're going to just get into two things. One, some of the key aspects of spiritual wellness. And then we're just going to walk through just a few examples of things you can do in order to practice spiritual wellness. And we don't have to go through all of these in detail. So, okay, I'm going to list off some of the key aspects of spiritual wellness, and then let me know which ones resonate with you.
Okay.
So, we have meaning and purpose, which is like the feeling a sense of purpose in life, right?
Hmm.
Believing in one's actions. We have inner peace, and that's like experiencing a sense of tranquility and calmness and contentment in the face of challenges. We've got self exploration, which deals with kind of introspection and self reflection. We have sense of connection, feeling connected to something greater than oneself. We have values and ethics, having an inner compass guided by virtues, ethics, and morals. We have mindfulness and presence, which talks about cultivating awareness of the present moment and being like fully engaged in when you're experiencing different things in life. We have resilience, which is developing the ability to cope with adversity and kind of bounce back. We have the search for meaning, which is continuously exploring, learning, and growing. And then we have awe and appreciation. And it's noticing and appreciating beauty, excellence, love, nature, expression, truth. So, out of those nine key aspects of spiritual wellness, which were pulled from different sources, just curious for you, like which ones speak to you? Are there any that you currently do and that you find like really useful right now for your spiritual well being?
I know the ones that I'm strong at, and I know the ones that I'm lacking in, where I don't
Mm,
explore enough, and I could do better. I do a lot of self exploration. I love a good test. I love a good personality quiz and love reading about all the different aspects and putting that information together. I think I'm really strong there. And in accordance to reading it from a place of my values, not just, we talked a lot about the Enneagram and we talked about zodiac signs and all that kind of stuff, but looking at those from being able to tell how to improve yourself by taking the information that we get from those quiz type things. And even my love for school falls into self exploration too. So, like
mm,
I went back to school to figure out what I like to do.
right.
So I'm really strong there. I will say I would like to build, I'm actively building on my resilience, the
Mm,
ability to cope with adversity and bounce back from challenges. A lot of practice in that area. So
mm-hmm.
I would like to be better at bouncing back. And I think
I
as an
love that.
artist, I'm naturally drawn to the noticing and appreciating beauty, excellence, love, nature, and expression. So I think that's just inherent to what I do, especially when I'm photographing other people. Those things are what I notice the most. It's like I'm pulling out that beauty and finding something amazing about each person that I'm photographing or whatever I'm taking pictures of. I'm actively seeking that. So I'm really
Mm,
strong in those. What
mm.
about you?
Yeah, it's interesting just listening to how which ones you resonate with and which ones that you feel like you're strong at. For me, I am pretty good with resilience.
You are
Um
excellent at resilience. I don't know how you do it.
I don't know either. And it's weird because sometimes people who shall not be named might call me like a robot because
Everything is fine. Back to
but
work.
it's weird because I think sometimes like people will categorize folks like me that way because when things start to go bad, we don't fall apart. And so that might be looked at as like robotic, but the thing is, like, I'm able to process really heavy stuff without going down a deep, dark hole. And for some people, they're just like, you must not be human, right? And I don't know why I'm wired that way. I just am. And it doesn't mean that nothing impacts me and my heart's not heavy when things go wrong. I don't know. I was just built, I've been that way for a long time. and through the years, yeah, I've just learned to build up even more resilience.
But I think that's necessary though, because we can't have everybody running around with their heads in their hands like this. Help me, help me. We need somebody to talk us down off the ledge. I actually think I'm good in the moment of adversity, but it's like the aftermath. I don't have the, what do you call it? The bounce back. My bounce back is not good.
Yeah, yeah, kind
So
of
I
like the
handle it. Yeah. It's like show no emotion and then fall apart after everything happens. So I'm working on it.
Yeah. And it's so weird because I feel like even for people who are good with resilience, like for me, right? There could be something, and knock on wood, hopefully it doesn't happen, that something that really knocks me down, right? And then I'll deal with it, right? Like I have to build that resilience up to keep going. But I think it's just working on yourself to, even when you do experience those moments where you feel like you can't get up, that you figure out a way to keep moving and keep going.
I think that quote is when you're feeling something bad is happening or whatever, learn to rest and not to quit. I forgot the entire quote, but it's something like that. Learn to
Yeah, I can't remember
rest.
it either, but yeah, that's
It
the
rings a bell.
essence of it. Yeah. So, one for me that I put on the list, even though I didn't see it a lot on all the lists, was on appreciation. That kind of like noticing and appreciating beauty, excellent love, and nature. That is me, man. When I'm
Hmm.
somewhere, I know people think I'm like a weirdo. I'm like, wow, look at that. Look at that flower, that water. It's so gorgeous.
Oh, wait, what
Look
about
at building.
the 40 minutes you spent admiring a bunt pan in the kitchen store? Look at this bunt pan. This would look so gorgeous with all the rest of my kitchen things. And I could just imagine how I'm going to display it. And everything is wonderful.
I just, yeah, I don't know. I am one of those people where you're like, is something wrong with that? But I just, when I look at things around me, like I appreciate even sometimes the simplest thing where I was like, wow, who invented this little box?
What is that?
So for those who are on video, you'll see it, but it's just like a box of paper clips, and it's just like a little cute little box to house some little modern paper clips, right?
That's
But
probably what makes you such a good designer too, your appreciation for great design. No, seriously.
I just love the thought that goes into things, and I love the beauty of nature. And so, I don't know. So I think like my strongest are like resilience, on appreciation, self exploration too. Because just like you, I love a good Enneagram. I love journaling. I love learning all aspects about myself in order to be better. As far as things I could do better, I don't know. Maybe all of them, of course, but I think maybe a sense of connection if I had to pick one. Feeling connected to something greater than oneself, whether that's a higher power, nature, the universe, or sense of interconnectedness with all living things. I am a big universe person, I am a big space person, but I think if I had to choose one, I would continue to work on that one. Yeah.
Same. Yeah.
Let's get into just some of the things that we could do in order to do that better. So, we have a list of multiple things and we'll include them in the show notes. So, I'm not going to read all of them out, but like, hey, you see kind of like a list of things
Hmm.
that people can do in order to practice spiritual wellness. Are there things that you currently do that you want to highlight, or things that aren't on the list that you want to mention that I can add?
It's a really good comprehensive list. Of course, we have our heroes of the mindfulness journey is meditation, right?
Hmm.
So everybody's heard of that one. But being connected to nature, I think is big, especially right now as we're going through all these climate crises all over the globe. And I think that if people start paying a little bit more attention and being out in nature and supporting measures that are going to take care of the earth, I think
Hmm.
that will be really good. And I think a lot of people are connected from it because we're more internal now. Everybody's doing digital things, but getting outside and finding that connection would be amazing.
And I saw something somewhere about how people who garden live longer.
Oh, sign me up.
And that's one of the things you don't have to do that, but for those who of you who go over to the show notes, nachesnow.com/181, some examples of nature connection is like hiking and gardening or simply sitting in a park. But yeah, I remember seeing something, and I'll try to find it, where it was saying people who garden live longer, which I thought
What
was interesting.
What about people who cement over their entire garden patio? Is that
I don't know. It's not looking good for me. But I got plants on the
okay? All right.
inside.
You do have plants on the inside. You're right. Another one that has been big for me that I don't talk a lot about is volunteer work.
Oh, yeah.
At my mom's service, I found out that she had basically been volunteering since she was like 16 years old
Mm.
and for all kinds of stuff. And so my niece and I afterwards we were like, man, we are way behind the ball in getting with being good with the community and all of our accomplishments and things like that. But I did volunteer a lot for her paper. And so I feel that connection is also good. And it doesn't have to be, I don't know, stereotypical things. You volunteer, you offer the things that make you feel good when you do it. I'll volunteer my photography services because it's something I already like to do and it's for a cause that I believe in.
Yeah, volunteer work, I feel like I probably could get a little bit better at that too. But usually, when people, like, for example, earlier this year, someone asked me to talk to some young mothers about finances. And I was like, yeah, 100%. Like, I will go, I will talk to them for an hour, I will be their resource. So I think when, wherever I can plug in, I will plug in, but I
Mhm.
don't know if I've done like a good job of actively seeking volunteer work. Oh, let me volunteer to help clean up the garbage in the neighborhood or something like that.
But that's not your mission though.
Yeah.
That's not a part of your life's journey at all. You volunteer a lot of your time to me. But seriously though, I say that and I also want to say to all the artists who are listening, people are going to approach you to do volunteer work all the time. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about choosing a few projects a couple of times a year that are aligned with your mission and values, not just accepting to work for free for places because I don't
Mhm.
believe in that. I believe in
Mhm.
something mutually beneficial. So I like to do photography and I like to make sure that community members, I was taking pictures, headshots for community members who were really doing great things in the community. A lot of times those people didn't have like professional photos. So they
Mhm.
would be doing these things and they were taking, sending selfies, low resolution and grainy and all that. And I was just couldn't let these amazing people go down like that. So that was in alignment with my values. So I don't want to
Yeah.
be like, oh, make sure you get out there and donate your time and energy to bagging apples. 'Cause that's not what you do.
No, okay, that is true. Like, you're right. If someone asks me to speak at a place that makes sense for me on a topic that makes sense for me, like 100%, I'm always open to that and have done that. And then, like, even maybe smaller acts of service. Like, I remember, I think it was like in 2021 when I was in the Navy Yard. I forgot what group, but they had people drop off holiday cards
Mm,
to be passed out at a nursing home. And so I like custom made like some holiday cards and dropped it
exactly.
off at the table in the Navy Yard in order for them to do whatever. And so that kind of spoke to me and my purpose and the types of acts of those are the types of acts of service that make sense. So yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
I found your holiday card as I was cleaning up the other day too. It's absolutely beautiful.
I really
So
do love a good
keep doing
holiday
that.
card. One that I love that's on my list, and you guys should know this already, is keep a journal.
Mm,
Because here I wrote, writing allows you to get in touch with your inner voice and deepest thoughts. Journaling can be a form of self reflection. And I do love it. It started off as a traditional bullet journal years ago. And then what I found is I didn't really use the bullet journal to plan my days, but it was almost more of a diary. And so my journal is bullet journal style, but technically it is a diary of my days. And I love that because I can capture my thoughts and what I'm feeling and what I'm doing And I do love going back into my journals and reading like what I did a year ago. And sometimes even a month ago, because you forget, you just do a bunch of stuff and you forget like all the things that you did last month, right? And so I just think journaling is just like a beautiful way to capture all the things that sometimes get lost by actually writing in the journal too. It's just a way for you at in the moment, even if you're doing it a few days later, of reflecting on what you've done by writing it down. There's just like a power in that.
Yeah, I used to keep a journal, then it became more of a chore. So I have to find joy in doing that again. Because I do going back and reading things. I used to journal all the time. When I was little, I used to journal and I named my journal. So I would have passages. What was her name? My journal's name was Sylvia. I don't know why
I
Sylvia.
love
It was a very adult
it.
name for a little girl to have. So I'm like, Dear Sylvia, today I had a crush on such and such. It was, yeah.
Love that though.
I was so dramatic.
It's
Dear
like your
Sylvia, today
friends.
my heart was broken.
Because it's like someone like you're writing to, right? Like a
Yeah,
pen pal. I
yes.
love that. But there is it's a power in that. And another thing on the list that I'm all over is the art and creativity and
Hmm.
get engaging in creative activities like painting, writing, music, dancing, like all the things. I love that. That is how I find my joy, my purpose, my peace, my inner peace. Like art and creativity is that's just like me along
Hmm.
with journaling. I feel like those are the top two ways besides walking, which is like maybe the nature connection. Those three things to me are my top three ways of me keeping up with my spiritual wellness.
I know I'm not into yoga.
No, me neither. I want to be though. I
I
want
want
to
to
be
be
into
so
yoga and
bad.
meditation. I really do. Even Pinterest gave me 6 months free of Headspace.
Oh,
And how many times have I used it in the
but
last
okay,
2 weeks?
are you listening to something when you're journaling? How do you get into the mood for journaling? And maybe I need to start my journaling practice over. Give me some help.
It's interesting because my preference is to do it in complete silence.
Okay.
That is my preference.
That's a mindfulness practice though.
Yeah. Because if I have the TV on, then I feel like I'm distracted a little bit, even if I try to just pay attention to journaling. If I'm listening to a book or something, I feel like I'm trying to listen to the words. So, again, not good. Even though I love music, I just prefer to journal in silence. So, even yesterday, I decided to journal while I was on the couch right before I watched TV. And so I had the screen on, but before I hit play on the movie, I just took 10 minutes to write in the journal in complete silence. And then I like did what I needed to do and then I turned on my movie. But I don't know, me personally, I prefer silence. And I
But
have this little bag I just carry around.
what a grandma. But I really do think that's a mindfulness practice. So while you might not be doing sitting cross-legged on the floor with scented candles and all that stuff, that's still the silence and the processing and all of that, that still falls under a mindfulness practice. So even though you're
Yeah.
not traditionally meditating, it's called flow. And that brain wave that you get into when you're in a state of flow is actually really good for your brain and for your, it has a lot to do with your connections and your neurons and things. You're doing it and you just don't
Mm.
even know.
Yeah, I love it. And then, like, sometimes if I'm on the couch, so for folks, your journal doesn't have to be like this. It could really just be pen to paper. My journal is a little extra. I like taping stuff in there, using washi tape, printing photos to go in there. But then maybe at the end of the week, I'll look at what I wrote the last several days and I'll be like, oh, are there any pictures that I want to print out? Is there any receipts or something that I should have taped in there? And then I might just sit at the dining room table and fill in the blanks and tape stuff in. And usually when I do that, it's also in complete silence too. But I don't know, it
Mhm.
just feels good. And so it's like this kind of ongoing, yeah, I don't know, journal conversation with myself. I don't know how to describe it, but it gives me inner peace.
I can totally see that. I'm speaking of your dining room table. I had to mention this weekend.
Oh, really now? A new
Hmm.
table?
No,
Oh.
come on, bring it down a notch. Now, what I say is not going to be as exciting. I bought puzzles.
Oh, that is just as exciting. Okay, people. If you, I think we mentioned it on another episode. Like, came over my house. I had a puzzle on my dining room table, and she's like, "What is this? Who does puzzles? You're such a granny." And then all of a sudden, who all up in my puzzle, sorting stuff?
It was wonderful.
She was all up in the puzzle
Like, please
game.
stop talking to me. I'm puzzling right now. So my daughter and I, we picked out puzzles over the weekend, and that's another goal of mine to finish cleaning up that area so I can lay out, so we can start puzzling. Is that what you puzzlers call it? Puzzling?
I think it's like puzzling.
So I can lay it out on my table.
That is exciting. I am excited for you. I just sent a friend a little puzzle that they could work on because they're not feeling well. I think yeah, I'm very excited. Soon she will have a puzzle board, people.
It's
Yes.
only a matter of time.
Yes.
Who bumped this table? Nobody eat anything.
But yeah, folks, if you head on over to the show notes, there's like multiple things. I think I have 16 different things on there. If I think of some more, Lakay sends me some more, I'll send it to you. But there's one thing that I want to mention as we wrap up here. Read inspirational texts. And so I was like searching what are some good books for people who are trying to embody and understand more about spiritual wellness. And some books that came up were The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle.
Hmm.
I think I read that a long time ago. Have you read that before?
I have. It was a
What did
long
you
time
think
ago, though.
of it?
It was slow to get into, but after you picked up the principles, I don't remember much about it, so I don't want to comment on it. But I just remember the first couple of pages or whatever. So, oh my gosh, Eckert, get to the point. But then by the time I got into it, oh man, this is really good stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting. I read it before I started tracking my reading in Notion and giving my books a rating. So I can't remember
Right.
exactly what it was about. So clearly, maybe it didn't just resonate with me like Big Magic. But I love that book.
Hmm.
But I put it on the list because that came up on several lists.
Hmm.
You know who came up time and time again?
Brene Brown.
Of course, yo girl, Brene Brown, especially daring greatly,
Mhm.
discussing vulnerability and courage
Was that about mindful? That came up on your mindfulness list?
for spiritual wellness. Yeah,
Interesting.
I thought it was
Okay.
interesting too. Yeah, Daring Greatly was a book that was
Hmm.
recommended, and then there was on other lists they had other Brene Brown books, but Brene Brown showed up on multiple lists.
You know what I think should make the list is a little bit non-traditional. Have I ever mentioned the Year of Yes? It's a few years old now, but
I think we have talked about it. That Year of Yes is amazing. Yes.
yeah, I think that has a lot to do with this spiritual journey in the sense that we're talking about, not religious, but a spiritual journey of just giving in to just saying yes more often. And a lot of times we're just saying no, I'm too busy, and so I think that's
Mm,
a good one to add.
I agree. I love The Year of Yes. I remember that book. It
Hmm.
stuck with me. Shonda Rhimes is amazing. And that's one book that potentially I would read again. There's not a
Hmm.
lot of books that I would read for a second time, but I would put that on the top 10 list of books
We
I might
agree
read
on a
again.
book.
That is weird. Another thing that came up is The Book of Joy by the Dalai Lama.
Oh,
It's conversations about inner joy despite life's difficulties.
oh, I need
Yeah.
that.
And then the last one that came up that I figured I would bring up because a lot of artists love this book. It's called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. Have you read that one?
I've heard of it. I have not read it yet.
They describe it as guides creative expression for spiritual development. I
Hmm.
don't think I have read that one, but someone I feel like on the podcast has recommended that one before, so I might check it out.
Yeah, I think this year I'm going to lean more into inspirational books and less business books. I've been
Mm.
heavy into the business books for the last couple of years, and I think I need a mental break or at least an opportunity to implement some of the things that I've read because I've been guilty of just binging book after book and not, and everybody has competing ideologies. So I just need to break from that and do some more inspirational readings.
Yeah. I think I forgot what episode I had mentioned this on, but for years, I probably for a decade, I stopped reading fiction books. Like in my 20s, I felt it was a ton of fiction books. In my 30s, it was only business books or self-help books. But then now in my 40s, I have done a mix.
Hmm.
And I found that has been really helpful. Right now, I'm listening to Impact Winter 2, which is amazing and perfect for the holiday season. It's all about monsters. It's so good.
Is that the one about the submarines?
No,
Oh.
vampires.
Oh, which one is the one that you tried to get me into that was about the submarines? And I was like, I can't handle this because it's underwater. I live too
Knox.
close to
It was
water.
the Knox.
Oh, okay. Oh, it
Yeah.
was. It was.
Yeah. But Impact Winter is vampires. It's really good. It's by Audible. It's an Audible original.
Oh.
It's really good. And it has an all-star cast, so there's different voices. It's very 3D immersion, so you can hear the crunch of the snow. So well done. I've also read some books that I've mentioned on the podcast before that are like books about love that are really good. I mix in like business books, self-help books, and fiction. And so I feel like I have a good balance of all of them to include good podcasts too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so anywho, I just wanted to mention that one. Read inspirational text because I think when you do read something that inspires you, like even it's gonna kill me that I can't think of the book with the love book. It was just written so beautifully.
Hmm.
Oh, Love and Other Things.
Oh, okay.
It was really good. I loved that book. Oh, and the last thing he told me, that was a good love book too. I really liked it. So if you're looking for some books on love, those are really good. As we wrap up here, any other thoughts for people who want to practice spiritual wellness? Things that they should keep in mind?
I think spiritual wellness is a lifetime goal. It's not something we check off our long list of to-dos. I think it's something that we aspire to. So, as sometimes certain parts are going to be heavier and the other parts are going to be heavier, but I think it's worthwhile to explore the ones that you don't feel as connected with and figure out why and try to figure out how to bring it more to the forefront.
Yeah, and I think the what I like would like people to walk away with is to me spiritual wellness is really becoming one with yourself. Is understanding yourself because one of the things on the list is spending time alone.
Mhm.
I'm an extrovert, but I love spending time alone. I'll travel alone. I'll go to the movies alone. And it's not because I don't have friends. I got plenty of friends, but sometimes it's just good to be with yourself, and that's fine. And I think spiritual wellness is about discovering yourself, loving yourself, but also experiencing other things too and learning from those things. And so it's just exploration. So I would just encourage people to go to the show notes and maybe just pick one of the things that are on the list and go hard with it. If it's travel and culture, if it's self care, if it's journaling, if it's spending time alone, if it's yoga, do something and make it a habit. And see if that kind of helps you find that sense of purpose, right? Discover who you are. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, my friends, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. It gave you a sense of what spiritual wellness is all about. Next season, we only have a few more wellness things to go through. We haven't done career wellness, emotional, environmental, and intellectual wellness, but once we finish those, we will have completed all 10 dimensions of wellness. crazy pants. Anyway, if you go to the show notes of this page, nachesnow.com/181, you'll see a list of the 10 dimension of wellness and all the links for the shows that we've already done. Remember, whenever you're listening to this podcast, I try to do a really thorough job of including all the links and anything we mention in the show notes. So please, it's a wealth of information over at nachesnow.com. Definitely go through the show notes of your favorite episodes and see if there's links to books or apps or other resources that might help you with whatever adventure you're on right now. All right. And of course, for this episode, I really hope that it gave you some ideas on what different practices will help you find more enlightenment, more fulfillment, more joy, more creativity. I also have the different aspects of wellness over there broken down into bullets to try to help you even get more of an idea of what this is all about, along with, of course, articles that will dive even deeper into spiritual wellness. Now, remember to find out what's on my mind, productivity tips, and favorite things. Sign up for the newsletter, nachesnow.com/newsletter. Remember, in the show notes of this page, at least for the first 2 weeks of October in 2023, vote for a planner or a Notion class, and I'll have them in the link section of the show notes. When you click on it, it'll register your vote, but take you to a form where you can also answer a few questions to give me just a better sense of what you would be looking for in that particular product. So as I'm off the next couple of months, I can be working on something just for you. All right. So if you love this episode, you know what to do. Please head on over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever you're listening to, and please rate me 5 stars. I would greatly appreciate it. It helps me get discovered, boosts me up in the ranks, and also YouTube. And also, if you're looking at this on YouTube, please give me a thumbs up and make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you don't already follow me on YouTube, just go over to youtube.com/NacheSnow. Over there, I got all kind of videos, not just a podcast. I also have DIY videos and journaling videos and videos providing my thoughts on all things productivity. So if you're a video person, definitely go over there and give me a subscribe. All right. Well, that's a wrap. You guys are going to love next week's guest. I've already concluded the interview with her, and it's all things product and wholesale. And you're going to just love hearing her story and her opening stores. Like, it's just great. And she provides so many valuable tips. I just cannot wait to share this season finale with you guys. Anywho, until next week, take care. Bye.